It's a great joy being here to discuss what exactly has happened with the FDC on account of what transpired yesterday in the so-called extraordinary National Delegates Conference. What one needs to understand is what constitutes a National Delegates Conference. What are the powers of the National Delegates Conference? It is true that under our constitution, the chairman of the party has got a duty to call the National Delegates Conference every 3 years. And he can call at any time an extraordinary National Delegates Conference. But these powers go with responsibility. And this responsibility requires a responsible person to be in that office. What has happened in the FDC, the national chairman failed in his duties in not calling a National Delegates Conference in 5 years. Under our constitution, a National Delegates Conference is held every 3 years. And that is very clearly stated. That's point number one. Point number two, despite the fact that somebody is given powers under the Constitution, those powers have got to be exercised responsibly. And I do not see that our national chairman, OHT Waswa Birigwa, did exactly this, because the chairman is not expected to wake up and say, I am going to call an extraordinary National Delegates Conference. There's got to be a reason for that. Those reasons have to be discussed within the structures of the party. And everybody has to be satisfied within the leadership that there is a need to have an extraordinary National Delegates Conference. This was not done. One should know that the president is the chief executive of the party. He's a person at the top. He sits at the topmost position in the party. And there is no way a National Delegates Conference would normally be conducted without consultation with the president. The Secretary General is the secretary for the National Delegates Conference. He is also the one who is the holder of the seal of the party. What this means is when notices are sent out, they are sent out with the full knowledge of the Secretary General. It is also true that the Secretary General is a custodian of all the records of the party. And besides many other records, there has to be a record of leaders. The National Delegates Conference is a conference of specific leaders. And so, whom would you consult first in order to get that record? It is the Secretary General. Now, this was not done. A National Delegates Conference needs to be planned. Planned in terms of logistics and financing. And so, to do without the budgets, the necessary approvals by the National Council and the organs of the party, without recourse to the Treasurer General, who is responsible for the finances, is missing the point. So what I am saying in a nutshell is that this particular extraordinary delegates conference, as everybody has now seen, was organized with a specific purpose. And that purpose was to target the top leadership of the party. Notably, the President, Secretary General, the Treasurer General. Each too was supposed to discredit the electoral exercise that we've been going through. By the way, elections have been conducted in 123 districts so far, out of 150 FDC districts. And we are satisfied that, we have a sizable number of new leaders to carry out the task. Now, when you look at the so-called extraordinary delegates conference that took place in Katonga yesterday, it was a crowd. It was very clear before the cameras, what was captured in the cameras, that these were not delegates. These were supporters and well-wishers, Dr. Kiza Besige, Elias Lukwago, Semujunganda, Honorable Mujike Francis, and the others who came to Katonga. And so they cannot have constituted a national delegates conference. Now, besides that, there is an order of court to stay that extraordinary national delegates conference. And the order of court is an order. Every one of us has to adhere. Some members of the party went out and were dissatisfied at the way the national chairman, Waswabirigwa, conducted himself. And they decided that, they were not going to have any of that. They therefore went for redress in court. And they sued the party, that is all of us, the Secretary General specifically, and the President specifically, on the matters in respect to the National Delegates, Extraordinary National Delegates Conference called by the chairman of the party. And so court decided to order a stay of this particular meeting. Therefore, what happened yesterday was clearly a contempt of court. And I am shocked, and I believe that maybe the professors who taught my friend Elias Lukwago at law school must be very disappointed at him. And even the people, his clients, his associates, you've had comments from law experts. This meeting should never have taken place. And so I just wonder which law school the Lord Mayor of Kampala, Elias Lukwago, went to. And failing to advise we who are lay people in as far as the profession, the legal profession is concerned, is a failure on his part, a total failure. So I would describe what happened yesterday as a fallacy, as having been done in contempt of court. Something that is a terrible joke in our politics in the country. A matter that is inconsequential to the leadership of the FDC. And that goes with all the resolutions that were made. And, one wonders who is going to implement these resolutions, because they are not shared resolutions. We in the leadership will continue to sit in Najana Nkumbi. Come rain, come shine. And that resolution that Semuju read yesterday will have no effect on the leadership of the FDC. At least I can tell you this with a fair amount of certainty. But there are offshoot issues that arise from whatever has happened. I do not know what is going to happen, because I suspect that some people within the FDC, our members, dissatisfied with what went on yesterday, might go to court for contempt of court. And most likely, a prominent lawyer in town, a prominent politician in this city will have to be dragged to court to his, probably surprise and embarrassment as a legal professional. And he knows the consequences of this. Now, comedy that was played by Waswabirigwa yesterday, I can forgive Wichiwa Waswabirigwa. He's fairly new in our party. He doesn't know the pain we went through in the formation stages of this party. He doesn't know the sweat, blood, tears that came off human bodies during the formative stages of this party. And so he can scale a wall, climb over a wall, treat this like any funny thing, treat serious business as a joke. I think that the biggest misfortunes that have befallen the FDC are two. The first is Waswabirigwa. He did come into the party immediately after leaving NRM. A person in the office of chairman should be beyond reproach. He should act with impartiality That is stated in our constitution. He needed also to have worked in the country and in the party and have a track record within the party. He didn't have that track record. And you know, some people, because of the desire to have a Muganda chairman, because of the desire to have somebody associated with Mengo, and it was Wechitiwa Nabosa Sebugwao who brought him and handed him to the FDC. And the FDC made a terrible mistake. Mistake number one. The second mistake was for us to glorify the coming in of the Lord Mayor of Kampala. By the way, he's been in FDC just only 3 years. And you can see the trouble that he has caused us. We had hoped that Mulodi Mayor Lukwago was going to bring the whole of Kampala to the FDC. He came with his wife. And we continue waiting. We are waiting for his impact in Buganda. Zero. He's brought nothing to the party but confusion. So those are the two very fundamental errors that we made. But also, I think that what is inexcusable are the acts of people who have been in the FDC long enough. When I saw our founding president yesterday cheering Waswa Birigwa because of, climbing over the wall, I couldn't believe what I heard and saw. Because, serious business being turned into fun. I see in our founding president lack of consistency in condemning wrongs. We've been accused, the Secretary General and myself and the Treasurer General, of receiving money from Museveni. These accusations were taken to a committee that investigated them. Dr. Kizza Besigye was asked to bring evidence. He failed to bring evidence. But the double standards that he has exercised in respect to condemning the actions of Waswa Birigwa, who confessed to Dr. Kizza Besigye in my presence that he met with Museveni without informing the leadership. And Dr. Besigye was angry with him. But he didn't condemn him in public. Elias Lukwago, you remember the letter written by Saleh saying, please, unless you apologize to me, I will not continue giving you support in this seat, political support. The first person that came out to defend Elias Lukwago was our founding president. He said, no, this man can't do that. And yet there was something written. And yet on our part, even if there was no evidence, we have been condemned. I think those kind of double standards is not good for a person who should be beyond reproach, somebody who should be a peacemaker. Currently, we now believe, whatever he is doing is meant to serve his own selfish political gains, which is very, very, very unfortunate. Now, what is happening in the FDC today is a fight for political power. Forget about the money, forget about, all that has been said, the bureau. I was a victim in 2020 when, as a presidential candidate, I was made to literally go alone to campaign. I did everything within my means, but it was being done single-handedly. I went to the founding president and asked him if he could offer support. And, he was unwilling to come to the campaign, giving all sorts of excuses. He zeroed to the reason why he didn't come with me. And I did tell it to his face that I believe that it was because of the people power wave and the NUP wave that he kept out of the election. And this was for self-preservation. So that they, together with my colleagues who were better qualified than me to run, would live another day in politics and, secure their positions so that they may, after the elections, work with NUP and people power. Indeed, a number of the politicians within the FDC in Buganda here were against my candidature. They thought, and there were meetings held about this, they thought that we should have supported Kyagulanyi's bid for the presidency as the FDC. The National Council rejected this. So there is a game being played. Personally, I feel that we have departed in as far as approaches to politics is concerned, whereas our founding father says elections are useless, we should concentrate on activism alone. I have said to him that previously we have engaged in two approaches, activism and elections, and that there would be no reason for us to depart from those two approaches. I have also added that any political party that is not going to participate in elections will die. The second point of departure is how we relate with the other political forces within the body politic of the country. And I think there is a desire, especially by the Lord Mayor, and also something that our founding president stands for us to work with NUP, which there's nothing wrong about that. But for us in the leadership of the FDC, we have requested that we give it a bit of time. We study NUP, they're still young. We don't know what they stand for, whether they will live, they stand the test of time, whether they are not going to deviate here and there. Give it time. But I think there is something that is in the group in Katonga that is causing them to move in haste, trying to aggressively get this done. And, what we see with the removal or the, attempted coup on the FDC leadership tells a lot. And probably now the public will know what the reason of this extraordinary delegates conference was.